Hey guys, welcome back to round 5 here at the Liberty Garden Premier Challenge, first of the season. Joe Brown, Jake Skurchak joining you. We have a great match here. Both of our opponents are 3-1, so they're really trying to get that 4th win to solidify their chances at top 8. We have Tiago Maltez and Anthony Kissoon. Both, as I said, both 3-1, both having a great day.
Right. So Tiago's going to be bringing the team of Groudon, Smeargle, Bronzong, Xerneas, Cresselia, and Salamence. Your standard Big B, or Big Bronzong. And we have Anthony Kissoon, I believe, if I'm reading that handwriting right. We have Lucario, Xerneas. Is that Lucario? Yeah, that's Lucario. Lucario, Xerneas, Kyogre, Salamence, Thundurus, and Weavile. So, interesting team from Anthony. I think Anthony has an interesting take with the Lucario, and we also have the Kyogre as well instead of Groudon, which is usually run with Xerneas.
Yeah, I feel like that Kyogre is there to help the Lucario match. You know, you don't want to get hit with super effective eruptions or fire punches. Also the Weavile.
All right, yeah.
Another, just like things like that that have tough times dealing with Groudon or getting knocked out by Groudon. So that's probably why the Kyogre is on this team instead. You don't really see a lot of Kyogre Xerneas a lot unless Justin's running. Then you know it's Kyogre Xerneas.
Right. Jen, Tiago's Twitter is Team Maltez. So we're going to get into the game soon here. Can they start? I think they can start.
Yeah, you guys are good.
Yeah, guys. Headphones.
See, they could hear
and
us.
Start.
They could hear us tell them that they were good because they didn't have headphones on. Yeah. So this is a big match here. We're in round 5. There's 6 rounds today. This is going to, you're pretty much solidify top 8 for you if you win here.
Not quite, actually.
Not quite, but
if you're undefeated and you're 4 wins, then yes. But these players are 3-1. Well, I know Tiago's 3-1.
Yeah, both of them are 3-1.
Okay, so they need 2 more wins to solidify, but next win gives them a chance.
Right, with good tiebreakers and things like that.
So again, Anthony has a team of Lucario, Weavile, Salamence, Xerneas, Thundurus, and Kyogre. Tiago is running Big B or Groudon, Smeargle, Bronzong, Xerneas, Cresselia, and Salamence. So I think this matchup, straight off of the restricteds, goes to Anthony. But obviously, team compositions matter too. I think that Anthony needs to definitely take advantage of his Thundurus. Just get Thunder Waves, taunts, stop Tiago in his tracks, and Tiago obviously needs to do the opposite. Set up Xerneas or Groudon, get Trick Room off, get off a Dark Road with Smeargle. There's lots of options both these players have, but they're going for both different goals.
It's going to be exciting. Let's get into it. Tiago, he's won a bunch of PCs, always seems to top cut, so he's a great player. Anthony on the come up, always said, this is a creative team here. I'm excited to see. So we have the Weavile and Thundurus open. Again, Anthony is on the top. Tiago is on the bottom of the screen. Tiago opens with Bronzong and Salamence.
Right. So, good leads from Tiago, I think, because Tiago can gyro ball the Weavile. He can chip the Thundurus, but Tiago just has to be aware of that Thundurus and what it's doing, and think about what Thundurus can do to him that can actually really hurt him. Because Thundurus, one simple Thunder Wave or taunt can mean the difference for a whole game.
So Salamence with the protect there. Weavile knocking off the Bronzong, not going for the Salamence. That's going to knock off the Lumberry. Good information for Anthony. But he reveals the Life Orb on his Weavile. Thunderbolt into Bronzong. Does not get the knockout. Bronzong lives with 14 HP. Gyro Ball into the Weavile. No Focus Sash. So he goes down there. So Weavile's down. Takes the Lumberry off, but doesn't really matter that much. And Bronzong is able to live that Thunderbolt.
Right. So now that Anthony has his Salamence in, it's going to be interesting because there's speed timeline games. There's also the fact that Tiago's Bronzong is weakened. So although Tiago got a knockout on Weavile last turn, Anthony's in a better position just because he's putting on so much pressure on the Bronzong, and it can't protect either. So it can't really do anything anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tiago actually sacrificed his Bronzong and made a switch out with Salamence to preserve it, and maybe not actually.
Yeah, Tiago, he's going to go with the Mega Evolve, so he's taking that Intimidate, not switching out to try to get it back up, the attack back up. And so Anthony went first. I don't know if that means anything. Could have just been a speed tie, but both Salamences are Mega Evolving. Let's see what the Thundurus is up to. T-Wave onto Tiago Salamence. So we know for sure now that Anthony's is going to be faster next turn. Might be paralyzed, but hits through it. Hyper Voice, double attack. Does just half to Salamence, a little bit under 25 to Thundurus. Returns with his own Hyper Voice, attacking or knocking out that Bronzong. Not doing as much to Tiago Salamence. So, but he does have the speed advantage now, and he has to knock out the Bronzong. Is 3-3.
Right, and we also need to take note of that Salamence damage. So Anthony actually has to take a turn to Thunderbolt the Salamence and Hyper Voice to get the KO. This turn, it needs to take the Thunderbolt onto Salamence and go for Hyper Voice to get the ensured knockout, instead of having to just go for Hyper Voice and have Thundurus doing something else. So Tiago can actually kind of play based off of that, knowing that he can actually take another Hyper Voice and go for maybe another Hyper Voice of his own and knock out the other Salamence, because it did have the other one. And Thundurus could actually go for an HP Water off a Kyogre switching. So both these players definitely need to think through their turns, because this is actually a really crucial turn.
It's going to be a big one. Thundurus is actually switching out, so no cheeky Kyogre HP Water move this turn. Kyogre switching in, going to Primal Revert, bringing up that Primordial Sea. Let's see what our Salamences are up to. Anthony's is going to move first because Tiago's is paralyzed. So, as I said, Primordial Sea coming up. Let's see if he went for the Hyper Voice or Double Edge. He goes for the Double Edge into the opposing Salamence, which does get the knockout. So, not going to take that Hyper Voice damage, which would knock out his. So, he's still over 25%. The Groudon Stone Edge into the Kyogre slot.
Okay.
It misses anyway.
Well, obviously the chip damage from Stone Edge would have been helpful, but you have to think, how much is it really going to do? And chances are it might not be able to actually affect the outcome of the rest of the game. But you have to note that Anthony has the weather advantage right now, and that's pretty huge. And the Salamence also is not weakened or slowed down, so he can get a free Double Edge on that Xerneas if it wants to.
That's going to be a big deal. We see the Groudon protecting. Salamence Double Edge not going into the Groudon, going straight for Xerneas, doing half health. Does live from the recoil. There's that Geomancy. What does Kyogre do? Can he do enough damage to knock out this Xerneas? I don't know. Probably not after the Geomancy boost. But it's going to be big turn. You never take a Xerneas or a Geo-boosted Xerneas for granted. And the Kyogre is going for Origin Pulse. Groudon protects. It does connect onto the Xerneas. How much will it do? It's bulky. No!
Oh,
critical hit! Critical hit. It doesn't matter. That Geo Boost did not matter in the end. The critical hit Origin Pulse was able to knock out the Xerneas. Groudon's on his own. He's going to forfeit this one and move on to game 2.
Yeah. So I think that Tiago, his only play was to get a Geomancy off and try and win based off of that. But that critical hit Origin Pulse definitely stood up for Anthony. It could have gone both ways. Thundurus was in the back, so you never know what Thundurus is. It kind of Thunder Wave, there's a Swagger, it has lots of different options. But that critical hit Origin Pulse definitely shut off Tiago's chances of winning. But it still could have gone in Anthony's way regardless. So in a game 2,
So we
might
didn't
want to stick with his same strategy.
we didn't see the Lucario though. So do you think Anthony's going to switch it up, or is it just more of the same? It seemed to work out the 4 he brought, with the exception of Weavile, I guess. But even Weavile put in work against the Bronzong, taking out most of its health. Do you see maybe Lucario come in, a change at all on Anthony's side?
I think Anthony could change up the Weavile. I don't think that he's going to change up the much else, because I don't think Lucario is going to do very well here, because he has Tiago has Xerneas, Salamence, Groudon. All those things can just hit Anthony's Lucario for super effective damage and just loses the Mega slot, which Salamence can actually do better by going Double Edges, Hyper Voices, keeping Tiago pressured. So I don't think Lucario is actually going to come out here. Weavile could actually stay too, but I think if he's going to change anything, it's going to be Weavile.
So let's see what happens. Can Tiago come back, win the next 2 games to move on to be 4-1 going into the final round today of Swiss? So Anthony is going with the Weavile, and the Lucario, as we were talking about, he decides to make an appearance. Doesn't stay away from the Weavile. Salamence, Cresselia, a little bit different of a lead for Tiago. decides instead of going with the slow Bronzong, he's going to go with the slow Cresselia this time.
Oh, I hadn't even realized there's Cresselia and Bronzong. This is actually, was this Aaron Traylor's Nationals team? I think so.
It looks similar.
I don't remember
I kind of remember this team. Because you don't really see Bronzong and Cresselia on the same team together, you know?
Right.
So when you see it, it's kind of important.
Either way, he has Cresselia and Bronzong with no Kangaskhan, so I messed that up in team preview. But I think this position for Tiago is a little better. It just depends on what the Weavile decides to do. I think the Weavile is going to go for maybe just a fake out and switch to Thundurus, especially because of that switch. We can see a Protect.
Yeah, so there's the Protect out of Salamence. No Mega Evolve. Icicle Crash goes straight into that Protect. Cresselia's Icy Wind going to do a little bit of damage to both of them, but their speeds are going to be lowered. Thundurus still has that Prankster, so you never know. That speed drop might not matter too much, but at least the Salamence wasn't able to take any, or didn't take any damage on that turn.
Yeah. That Icy Wind is actually pretty good because got some chip damage on the Thundurus and slowed down the Weavile, which is more important because now Tiago has an option to freely double edge the Weavile without having to take damage beforehand. Just risks the Icicle Crash, but that won't KO Tiago's Salamence, I believe. Cresselia can go for another Icy Wind. I don't see much doing much else at this point in the game because it's still early and we don't really know what Tiago's plan is. Maybe get just a sweep with Groudon in the back, and especially since Lucario's in the back, Groudon's going to be pretty useful. And I think that if Anthony gets a Thunder Wave on a Salamence, it's not the end of the world.
So we're going to see that Thundurus actually switch out to get rid of that speed debuff into the Lucario again. There's the Mega Evolution on Salamence's end, and remember that the Weavile is -1 attack, so an Icicle Crash might not get that knockout on Salamence. Double Edge straight into the Weavile, and that is the knockout. So Weavile's not going to get any damage off in this situation. Recoil going down. Icy Wind onto Lucario, which is important because if he, Mega Evolves, he's going to be a little bit slower. So overall, very good turn for Tiago there.
Right. I think, that was a great turn for Tiago. Tiago lost nothing out of that turn. Now that Thundurus comes in now, we could actually see some speed going back into Anthony's favor. But there's also the Groudon switch in, so there could be no Thunder Waves at all.
Anthony actually switches out his Lucario after bringing him in for the Kyogre, maybe expecting the Groudon switch in or something like that. But we are going to see that Primal Reversion, so he's going to have to put on some good power against the Salamence on Tiago's side to get back into this one. Rain goes up. Let's see what the Salamence went for. Protect, keeping it safe, not wanting to take any damage. And the Thundurus into the Salamence, so he didn't go for the Cresselia. Psychic goes for Kyogre, only does a good amount considering. But yeah, that Thunder Wave not going after Cresselia, he baited right into Protect. That was rough.
Mm-hmm. This turn, I think that Tiago can freely switch into Groudon. There's no Rayquaza that can stop from Groudon from actually not getting hit, and Tiago can just freely Gravity or Icy Wind and then Gravity Precipice Blades and probably take this whole game because there's just no way that Anthony can really stop the Groudon under Sun, especially without Hidden Power Water, Rayquaza. Just very limited on options on Anthony's side.
Salamence is switching out, as you were saying, into the Groudon. So if Anthony went for a Water type attack this turn, it's not going to work. It'll be interesting to see if he made that prediction, maybe went for an Ice Beam or something like that. But the Sun is coming up, Desolate Land, and Thundurus should be first. Oh, Kyogre protects, so he's not even going for an attack this turn, expecting that switch in. Thundurus goes to the T-Wave into the Cresselia this time, probably expecting Salamence to switch out into Groudon, getting that free T-Wave onto Cressy. Icy Wind does hit the Thundurus, which is big because it's not like he can T-Wave Groudon.
Right. So Thundurus really can't do much besides taunt Cresselia or Thunderbolt. That's all I can really do, but Tiago's Groudon is faster than everything at this point, so Anthony does need to make a switch, which he does.
Yeah, he's got to get out just so he can reset the rain. Switching out into Lucario, who looks like he's going to be a little victim at this point. Taunts the Groudon. I guess doesn't want him to protect.
Right.
And the press displays go straight into Lucario. It's been nice knowing you. I wish we could have seen you do more. Maybe Game 3. We'll see Lucario Mega Evolve. But the gravity, so now Thundurus isn't even immune to the precipice blades. So
right.
But
all Tiago needs to do for this game is just switch out Groudon and get it back in safely.
Well, so here's the thing. If he switches out Groudon into, say, like Salamence, he can get hit with the Ice Beam, right? So, like, but he also can't protect. So I'm just trying to figure out what Anthony was going for with that taunt. Maybe that was it. But we see the Groudon into the Salamence. Does Anthony get that read? An Ice Beam would almost certainly knock out the Salamence. Thunderbolt does a good amount. No, he goes for the Water Spout, not expecting the switch. And it gets the knockout anyway. But Cresselia lives with 11 HP.
With a critical hit.
Oh, the critical hit on Salamence, that was important because it's resisted with the Dragon type. But Cresselia living with 11, that would have been huge because that would have forced the, as you see the Icy Wind going off on both of them, that would have forced the Groudon to come in and Kyogre could switch out again and get the rain to stay permanent. So now, you don't know. It's both 3-3. At this situation, you can still have those weather wars going on.
It's 2-3. Tiago's up.
Oh, it's 2-3? I thought, oh, right, Lucario was knocked out.
Yeah.
I apologize. I totally forgot that.
So Tiago won that turn hands down. Tiago really needed that Salamence to just go down so that he can get the Desolate Land back up. So with no role play on Thundurus and really slow Thundurus at that, I don't see a way Tiago can lose this game.
Yeah, seems like he's in a good place. Press displays, gravity is going to connect on both of them. Should be enough. It's not enough for the knockout on Kyogre, but Thundurus does go down. It was so weak to begin with. At this point, we're just playing it out, it seems like, but we're definitely going to be moving on to a Game 3 here in round 5.
Actually,
he's paralyzed, can't move.
Right,
but
it's too far gone.
Right, what's Kyogre going to do here, this situation?
I like Anthony's thought maybe on the Ice Beam. Maybe he's just trying to see how much it does to Groudon so he could use that for the next game since they both have, this is the last game, so this determines whether who has to fight for cut still or who has a chance.
So I'm still just trying to understand what the taunt into Groudon over Cresselia was. Like, what do you think that decision was made for? Maybe it was expecting Sun to switch into a taunt. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but that did force Tiago to switch out. So I don't think that play worked out for him because Tiago was going to switch out anyway, I think, but he was trying to find a way. He wanted Groudon to stay in so he can Water Spout, but if Tiago switches and doesn't get the Water Spout, then if Tiago switches in, doesn't get Water Spouts, he can't win. So he had to figure out a way for Groudon to not switch in, but he couldn't because there wasn't really any way Tiago wouldn't switch out.
Right.
So the reasoning behind the taunt is maybe getting off a Water Spout into the switch in, and maybe just trying to keep something in, and then maybe set up. But it didn't work out, and Tiago won the next game. Well,
nonetheless, we're moving on to Game 3 here. Round 5 is good. This is a big moment for both of these players. Anthony Kissoon is on the top. Tiago is on the bottom. Maybe Tiago can pull off the comeback when he lost that first game.
Yeah.
Did pretty well, actually, in Game 2. Was in control the entire time. Anthony switching it up this time. Xerneas Weavile is his open, and Tiago also bringing the Xerneas out has Xerneas Cresselia. So we got a Xerneas mirror here in Game 3.
Right. I think this lead favors Anthony, believe it or not, because Anthony can knock off the Power Herb or the Citrus Berry and do a lot of damage to Cresselia. He can fake out. He has a lot more options than Tiago, and he's also putting a lot of pressure with that Weavile. So, and also, if he fakes out Xerneas, gets Geomancy up, Tiago doesn't have a Geomancy up. So it's already looking bad for Tiago because he's a turn behind pretty much. So Tiago needs to figure out a way to get back into the game and get some pressure off going really quick, or else the Xerneas is just gonna wreck him.
Weavile going straight up for the knockoff, no fake out, knocking off that power herb, probably expecting that Geomancy. But Anthony has his Geomancy going off, so again, could be a speed tie, or Anthony's might be faster. You never know. But the real question is, did Tiago also go for the Geomancy? Because if he did, that knockoff is going to be huge.
Right.
The Cresselia Icy Winds. So he's actually faster than the Xerneas.
Yeah.
And
he's faster than his own Xerneas.
Right, so that's not a speed tie. Definitely not. And he goes to Zazingleam, not for the Geomancy. So good play on Tiago's end there to not fall into that knockoff Geo trap that happens a lot with Xerneas.
I actually like Tiago's play a lot. Even though he's behind and doesn't have a Geomancy up, he got rid of the Weavile, which was really threatening his Cresselia. And Cresselia is really needed in this game, especially when there's a +2 Xerneas. That just outspeeds everything. But now Tiago can actually control the speed and actually get an advantage over his opponent, even though there's a super fast, super bulky, super powerful Xerneas right there. And it actually keeps Tiago in the game. So it's interesting to see that as a Gleam play, which at first doesn't seem like a great idea, but it actually works out for him here.
Yeah, it's a big turn. Xerneas, Anthony Xerneas was able to get that Geo boost. Tiago switching out into his Groudon, getting the rain off the field. We know that even though the Dazzling Gleam is resisted, it still does a lot of damage to opposing Groudons, especially this one. Anthony's Xerneas kind of looks like it's a max speed special attack version, so it could do over half in this situation. Goes for the Moonblast, direct attack onto Cresselia, doing as much as possible. 22 health, so critical hit would have knocked it out. Citrus Berry, definitely not going to matter in the long run. Icy Wind, slowing it down, not going for the Thunder Wave, but both of his Pokemon are now one stage slower.
Right. So now Xerneas is down to neutral. Neutral speed, and Kyogre's at -1 speed. So the speed kind of favors Tiago a little bit more now that Kyogre is for sure slower than Groudon. And Groudon could potentially be faster than Xerneas, dependent on Xerneas' speed stat before Geomancy. So if Tiago outspeeds both these Pokemon, then I think he's in a decent enough position to where he can actually come back. But if he gets knocked out this turn, then there might be a little bit of an issue.
Anthony switching out his Kyogre, bringing in his Salamence, getting an Intimidate off in case Tiago goes for Precipice Blades or something like that. Not going to do as much damage. Dazzling Gleam, Xerneas is faster, so he's going to knock out the Cresselia, do an okay amount to Groudon. So what's his Groudon go for? He goes for that Precipice Blades, doesn't affect Salamence. -1 into Xerneas. How much is it going to do? Really not that much. Xerneas is now at half, and at this rate, he can actually survive another Precipice Blades. Tiago brings out his own Salamence.
Tiago, unfortunately, did lose his Cresselia. That Moonblast Ice Beam play really hurt him because now there's no way to control the speed. And since Xerneas outspeeds the Groudon, it's a little harder. But you have to remember that Salamence is now faster than Xerneas, so we could also see a double edge from Tiago's side into Xerneas to get out, and then maybe a switch out from Groudon. Unless Tiago opts for a Stone Edge, which will do a good chunk to Salamence.
That would be interesting. We know he has it, obviously, from the first game when he tried to hit the Thundurus. But so we're going to see these Salamences Mega Evolve. It's going to be important to whoever is faster. Obviously, Tiago's went first. Anthony going to match it. Do they go for a double edge straight into Groudon, perhaps? Maybe that's what Anthony's going for. But Xerneas protects, doesn't want to take any more damage this turn. And maybe a Tailwind coming out. Yep. Ooh. So Tiago goes for the Tailwind on his end. Does Anthony match it is the question. And Anthony went for the Tailwind too. So we're pretty much in the same boat. So everyone likes double Trick Room matches. I also like the double Tailwind where everyone does it at the same time.
The Groudon actually went for Precipice Blades. I like that play, but I also don't like it because he could have gone a free Stone Edge off that turn. But I see why he did it, so he could get the Precipice Blades off, KO the Xerneas, and get Tailwind up. that was his best case scenario, but he didn't get it. So it kind of feels awkward because they both have Tailwind up now, so it's just kind of questionable.
Double Edge going into Tiago's Salamence. Takes that Weavile. Let's see if he just does the same thing. Nope, goes into Xerneas, and it does get the knockout in that situation. So Xerneas had to wait one more turn to get knocked out. Wasn't able to get any damage off.
Oh.
Stone Edge goes for the Stone Edge on the Salamence, but Salamence avoids the Stone Edge. And wow! And Kyogre switches in here, getting the rain up. That was a difficult miss.
Yeah, that might be a heartbreaker, but depending if Tiago has Xerneas in the back, I can see him pulling this game through. He has to what does he have to do here? I think he has to be really careful about what he switches in and out. He's probably forced switching Groudon, but if he does that, then he might lose Xerneas this turn. So he has to be really, really careful on what he switches.
Well, it is a very bulky Xerneas from what we remember.
Yeah.
So maybe he can live the Origin Pulse Hyper Voice. I don't know about an Origin Pulse Double Edge. That might be difficult. But he doesn't even switch out. Actually, has a Hyper Voice, critical hit on the opposing Kyogre. Salamence goes to the Hyper Voice, is going to knock out Tiago's Salamence. And what does Groudon go for? Does he go for that Precipice Blades?
No, but
Kyogre is faster. He won the presumable speed tie, and that knocks out Groudon. All he has left is that Xerneas in the back. So it's not Geo boosted. They're both in Tailwind, but Salamence is faster than it. Yeah. So that was a really risky gamble, not switching out Groudon or protecting him or something.
I think Tiago actually made the right play in thinking about it, because if Tiago had brought in Xerneas, he would have taken a lot of damage from the Hyper Voice and the Origin Pulse, so he couldn't go for it. He couldn't make that. Oh wait, he has to get the Origin Pulse miss.
Dazzling Gleam.
What I was saying is that Tiago needed to keep that in. At the same time, try and get to be the Kyogre and finish it off later. With the
Origin Pulse.
Origin Pulse.
Xerneas avoids, and Tailwind peters out for both. But if we remember, no wait, hold on, because Xerneas was slower. He's still faster.
He Moonblasted. No.
Moonblast. Does he get the knockout? And no, yes! Kyogre lives.
Oh my God.
Kyogre lives. Special attack drop. Origin Pulse. It connects. This is a bulky Xerneas. Tiago. You put enough effort? No, he knocks it out. Anthony Kissoon with the win over Tiago is now 4-1 today here at the Liberty Garden Premier Challenge. He's moving on to round 6 with a very good chance of making top cut. That was intense, those last couple rounds. Wow. That heartbreaking for Tiago. There were so many times. The Stone Edge miss, the different.
I believe if Tiago had actually gone for Geomancy, he could have won, because I don't think
No, he had his Geomancy knocked off, remember?
Oh, right, yes. Yeah,
he had the power herb knocked off.
Yeah,
so that was an important turn 1 play that made it.
Turn 1.
That made it.
Anthony won.
That made it, something we totally forgot that happened so long ago with the Weavile knockoff that really impacted it like 10 turns later. That was crazy.
I think I mentioned this before, though. Turn 1 matters. Turn 1 matters.
Every turn matters. Yeah, they're maybe not equally, but in that situation it was. So congratulations to Anthony. 4-1 going out to round 6. We'll be back with the final round of Swiss, and then get ready for Top Cut. Stay tuned. This is Liberty Garden.
Peace out.